Welcome to today's webcast entitled Social Media, the Big Picture. My name is Nate, and I'll be your event specialist today. If you should need technical assistance, please type your inquiry into the tech support box on the left side of your screen and click on the send button. If you are disconnected from the webcast, you can log in again using the login instructions provided to you. If you cannot log back in with these instructions, please call support at 866-271-7592. We would also like to take any questions that you might have for us today. To ask a question via the web, click on the Ask a Question button, type in your question in the open area, and click on Ask Question to submit. You can also follow a live Twitter feed during this event. To do so, click on the Twitter button located on the left-hand side of your screen. If you'd like to tweet during the meeting, just click on the button at the bottom and sign in with your Twitter handle. It is now my pleasure to turn the webcast over to Suken Shah. Suken, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Nate. Good morning, everyone. We're very excited to have you for our webinar regarding social media, and we're very, very excited to have Lon Safko. I was joking with Lon. Lon has about a page and a half worth of biography, but I'm going to give you a couple of highlights. Lon is an entrepreneur. He started 14 successful companies, all sort of technology-based. Lon has done a lot of publishing and writing, and today we're very lucky to have Lon talk to us about social media. And Lon, we're gonna turn it over to you. The floor is yours, and then we'll take questions towards the end of the presentation. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. Geez, I'm really excited about being here. Thank you for offering this opportunity to me. And social media really is a hot topic right now. And if you're a small business, you really do have to understand what social media is all about. It's not a trend. It's not going away. And in fact, once you embrace it, you'll see that it's really the most effective marketing tool that you could possibly use for your business. And the reason is that implementation is free. Everything that I talk about over the next hour is going to be 100% free. All these tools are free. And when you find out how effective social media marketing is, you're going to be as excited as I am. So let's just jump into it. And first of all, as you heard, my background is varied, but mostly it's all about small business. I may be an author and a presenter and a keynote person. I travel around North America, actually throughout the world, and present subjects. But my heart is in small business, and I've formed 14 small businesses. Matter of fact, one of my small businesses, there's 18 inventions, and over 30,000 of my personal records are part of the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. And the reason I'm showing you this and telling you this is the reason that I got excited about social media is because I'm a small business person, and I wanted to learn why social media was so important. And about 5 years ago, when I first heard about the term social media, I asked a whole bunch of people. As you can imagine, I have a whole lot of geeky friends, and I asked them, what is social media? And they said, well, don't worry about it. It doesn't have any substance. It's just another one of those terms. It's kind of like Web 2.0. You can ignore it. It's going to go away. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized social media is going to be a disruptive technology, disruptive. It was going to change our lives. I just recognized that. So I got heavily into it, studied the heck out of it. The next thing I know, I'm working with John Wiley & Sons, producing an 850-page book on the subject. So here's one of the things that I find really interesting, wisdom of the crowds. And this is just the first example that I used using social media. And what I did was when I produced the book, the Social Media Bible was my 6th book that I produced. And I had 5 previous books. And there's a formula to writing, there's a formula to writing business books. It's basically 250 pages, 23 chapters, 2,000 to 3,000 words per chapter. But I didn't want to do that. What I saw in social media is that if you listen to your customers, if you simply ask your customers what they want and you deliver it, you'll be successful. So the first thing that I did is I did this survey of about 1,000 different people. And the interesting information that came back is that 66% of the people said that they could not define what social media was. And, of course, we all know the other third lied about it because it took me 850 pages to define what social media is. So it's fairly complex, but by the end of this presentation, you're going to be first overwhelmed with how cool it is and how much stuff, but by the end you're going to say, I get it, I can do that. And then, of course, the 99.1% of the people out there said that they knew that it was going to have a significant effect on their business. So the other thing that came out of this survey was what do you want to see in a book? Because there's that formula. So what I heard was they wanted to have 3 different books in one. They wanted the tools. What's a vlog? What's a blog? What's email? How does that work? The second part was a guide, and the third part was a strategy section. So when I pitched it back to Wiley, they said, that's 3 books in one. That's 800 pages. We've never done anything like it. The result was, by the 4th day after the book was released, it hit number 1 on Amazon. It was a bestseller. It's in 4 different languages. Now, the reason I say that is that in your small business, no matter what you're doing, if you understand social media and this interaction between you and your customers, you simply ask them. I mean, think about this. Imagine asking 25 or 30 of your best customers, why did they buy from you? What was the reason that they purchased? If you had those insights, you can then use that in your marketing to convert prospects to customers. If you simply ask your customers, and social media provides that platform. Now, the one thing is that I work with Fortune 500 companies. I've worked with Kraft Foods and Merck and Levi Strauss, but my passion is small business. But the thing that's interesting is everything from the one-person entrepreneur company all the way up to the Fortune 500s, the part that's missing is strategy. I hear it all the time. Oh, we understand social media. We got a Facebook page and we send out a couple of tweets. Well, good on you. Bravo. That's not social media. And what are you doing to your Facebook page? What is your conversion strategy? And we're going to talk about this as we go through. Everything that you do has to have a conversion strategy, meaning that how do you take your likes and your fans on Facebook and convert them to customers, which relates to revenue? How do you take your tweets? What is the purpose of your tweets, and how are you using your follower list and those tweets to convert them to customers, which then converts to revenue? Everything has to have a strategy. And if we look at this next slide, again, don't try to read it. Your eyes will start to bleed. But this is just a short list. This is about 25% of some of the companies that I had to research for the book. Well, guess what? This is part of the reason that we're having so much trouble wrapping our brain around what social media is, because, and honestly, I get emails every day with 1 or 2 new companies. Think about that. 1 or 2 new companies every single day is coming into this space, this social media. So understanding it is kind of a challenge. Where do I begin? Well, the reality is, if you can do these 3 things, you can get your handle on social media, and you can handle 90% of everything that social media does. And that's blogging, microblogging, and social networks. And I'm going to go into some detail on each of these 3, which I call the trinity of social media, because these are the 3 most important things that you need to understand. Blogging is just simply typing a half a page of why you're passionate about what you do and posting it on the web. And you're going to see why this is important. It's setting you up as a thought leader. It's going to create Google juice, and it's going to create link love. Yeah, I'm not making that stuff up. Those are real words. Microblogging, for all intent and purposes, is Twitter, but I don't call it Twitter because if you wanted to do a microblogging Twitter kind of a thing within your organization, let's suppose you had 20 to 100 employees and you wanted to do Twitter inside the firewall, private Twitter just for your company, you can use something called Yammer. So there's other kind of competing things out there that are competing with Twitter. So that's why it's called microblogging. It just means limited to 140 characters. And then the third category is social networks. And we're going to spend quite a bit of time on which social networks are important and how they actually work. So let's just jump into Twitter, because you probably have heard more about Twitter than any one social media technology, excepting maybe only Facebook. Twitter is just text messaging, and it's text messaging to groups. You have 2 things that you have to understand: followers and following. You're going to follow people. Who are you going to follow? Well, I want you to follow people that are important to your industry: thought leaders, legislators, lawmakers, people that are on the cutting edge, people that are participating, people that understand things in your industry, so that when they learn something new, for example, Robert Scoble is a big social media guy, and he was in Germany at this conference, which I would have loved to have been participating in, but I wasn't, and he heard something that was really interesting. He grabbed his cell phone and he tweeted it out, and that message came to my cell phone within literally seconds of when it came out of the speaker's mouth, and I benefited from that. So I'm going to follow people who are going to give me little 140-character tidbits whenever they get them. Now, a lot of times you'll hear on Twitter, I'm playing with my kitty. I've decided to have bacon with my eggs. My airplane is 10 minutes late. I wrote a blog for Fast Company that's called Twit or Tweet, and it was around Halloween last year. The thing is that if you're talking about your kitty and your bacon, you know what? You're a twit, and I'm not going to follow you. I'm going to unfollow you because that doesn't give me any value. I'm going to follow you if you can give me something, what's in it for me, the old WIIFM, or the I didn't know that. And if you are sending that information, that's when I'm going to follow you. Okay, so now that you understand that, people who follow you is exactly the same thing. So what do you tweet about? Well, if you and I sat down at lunch and I asked you, why do you do what you do, 40 hours, 50 hours, 70 hours a week, you can go off for 45 minutes of why it's important to you about what you do. And as a prospect, I want to hear that passion. I want to see why you're good at what you do. Now, let me give you one other example. What I did was I took one of my presentations, I picked out all the things that I thought people probably weren't aware of in social media. And it actually, in the 1-hour presentation, I actually came up with 127 things that were kind of good ideas. I didn't even realize they were there. And I put them into Excel. Then I went to a product called Hootsuite. Hootsuite allows you to schedule your tweets. So I took these 127 from the middle of May to the middle of September. I scheduled them Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 3 times a day, 10, noon, and 2, so that my followers will get something that they probably never thought of 3 times a day, 5 days a week from May until September. Now let me ask you this question. What other traditional marketing techniques, methods, can you do where you can get your brand in front of your prospects, in front of your customers, 3 times a day, every day, Monday through Friday, absolutely free? And I'm pausing for effect. There's nothing. There's nothing else on earth that you can do that. And my customers are indebted to me because I am continuously giving them information that they can use. So go sign up for my Twitter account. It's just @LonSafko. Follow it. I'm going to give you good stuff. But there's the power of Twitter, is being able to get in front of your customers anytime you want, as much as you want, building your brand, building brand awareness, and doing it absolutely free. Now, social networks, there's tons of them out there. Probably there's 100 that you've never even heard of. But the biggest ones, let's talk about the biggest and most important. Let's look at Facebook. The reason it's important for you as a small business to have a page, a business page. Yes, Facebook is for personal. Yeah, believe it or not, social networks were set up for people to socialize, but us marketing folk, we always figure out how to turn those tools into tools that we can use for marketing. The reason that you need to be there is that first bullet point. There's 750 million participants, 750 million members. Now, in marketing, we call that a watering hole. Any time that you have like-minded people hanging out in one particular place. Now, remember, a watering hole can be a trade show. A watering hole can be a trade journal, print ad, a demographic for a radio station. But in this case, 750 million people are participating. If Facebook was a country, it would be the 3rd largest country on earth. China would be first, India would be second, Facebook would be third, and then the U.S. would be fourth. So why not? If Facebook is free and you have access to 750 million people who, trust me, are typing in your industry keywords to try to find businesses to provide solutions to them, why aren't you participating? Why aren't you putting the time and effort into a place where 750 million people have access to you and can find you as easily as with a keyword? Now, people talk about MySpace. MySpace is dead. It's gone. Well, they still have 200 million members. And as a company, I would love to have 200 million members in my company. So, you know what? It's really not dead. It's still out there. Remember, MySpace was the largest social network at one time, and it was created for musicians. So musicians that didn't have signed labels so that they can exchange music and ideas and thoughts. And then, let's face it, if you got cutting-edge free music that you can download, guess who it's going to attract? Yeah, teenagers, because music to teenagers is like garbage cans to raccoons. So that's how it built up so fast. And Facebook kind of took the lead over MySpace because it became a true social network. I'm on MySpace. Why not? It's free to create a profile, and if I have access to 200 million people for free, I'd be kind of stupid not to do that. Now, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is critical. You have to be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the most respected contact database in the world, period. Anytime I'm going to do business with anybody or any company, I'll go on to LinkedIn. I'll look at their profile. If they're not on LinkedIn, I know right away that person, that company is stuck in the 90s, and I'm going to have issues working with that company because they just don't get it. If they are on LinkedIn and their profile is okay, good for them. Then if their profile is filled out completely, that tells me another story. The content of the profile tells me something. I may look at your profile on LinkedIn before I decide to do business with you, and I find out you grew up in the same hometown. You and I went to the same college. You and I are into antique cars or spinning or quilting or dogs. Guess what? Now we have this basis for trust. Every time you start a business conversation, do you jump into your business pitch? No, you usually start with the weather. That's something we all have in common. We all have weather. And then maybe, where are you from? It builds trust. And LinkedIn is the best way to find out who out there does what you're looking for and to find that level of trust. Use it on your customers. Use it as kind of a search tool before you actually speak to your customers. See if they're on LinkedIn. Find something in common. And that's one way to use LinkedIn. A second way to use LinkedIn is actually using it for referrals. Give you an example. Some time back, I signed contracts with PBS Television to create the world's first television special on social media. And I needed a sponsor. So I needed to get into Fortune 500 companies, and a lot of them, and at the executive level. Now, any small business out there knows how difficult it is to get past the gatekeepers in Fortune 500 companies, especially at the executive level, senior vice president and above. I used LinkedIn. I typed in the company. I found a person, and then simply by clicking on that person, I can see who I know who knows them. Think about that. Who I know that knows them. Within 30 days, I had conversations actually taking place at the executive vice president level and above in 53 Fortune 500 companies. There is not a tool on earth that allows you to do that, because the person that I'm connected with knows me and trusts me. They're connected with the person that I want to speak to. They have a relationship of trust. Simply by asking them to introduce me extends that reputation and that level of trust. Period. Wow, is this amazing stuff? And it's all out there and it's all free. To join LinkedIn costs you nothing. So G Plus or Google Plus is a knockoff of Facebook. They're trying to compete with Facebook for revenue, for advertising dollars. It's just that simple. And I've been a member of Google Plus for about a month, and I got to be honest with you, I really, really like it. So keep your eye on it. It's still in beta. If you get a chance to join, by all means, get in there and become a member of Google Plus. Okay, Second Life. I need a show of hands. How many people out there are on Second Life? They're on the grid. I see one hand. Anybody else? You in the back? No? Okay. Okay. Second Life. You need to be aware of this. Virtual worlds. Now, those two images were taken from my property in Second Life. It kind of looks like a game, but don't call it a game, because people who are serious about Second Life will get really upset at you. It's really not a game. When you walk around this virtual environment, you'll see trees and buildings and benches and animals, but you'll also see avatars, cartoon critters. But the difference between this and a game, in a game, you got to grab your gun and blow their brains out, and that's not what this is about. Those other avatars are actually real people from anywhere across the world. So you can go to the mall and walk around. You can go out to a nightclub and listen to music. You can go hang out at the beach. I use this for business. Again, socializing is fun. Business is all I care about. So if you look at that lower right-hand picture of me flying, by the way, that's me. Well, at least me 25 years and 25 pounds ago. And that's a nice thing about avatars. You can make them look like anything you want. But that's my property in Second Life. And if you want, you can go sit on the beach in the chairs down there, sit by the bonfire. You can go in the back and get a cup of coffee. You can watch a video. You can read 3 chapters of my book. I have a store that actually does real business on the ground floor. And in the top floor, I actually have my offices for the Social Media Bible. But the way I use it is I hold meetings in there. Not too long ago, I was asked by a woman she was getting her PhD in advanced marketing, and she asked if she can interview me for her thesis. I said, sure, meet me in Second Life. And she said, well, I'm really not into Second Life. I don't know anything about it. I said, well, then you don't deserve a PhD in advanced marketing, do you? She says, point taken. So we met in Second Life, and we started to talk, and it turned out that my cartoon character, my avatar and her avatar, sitting on the beach, crossing our legs, we're talking just as I'm talking to you now, not typing but actually talking. Turns out she was the executive vice president for Mars Candy in Heidelberg, Germany. Now, how would I know that? She was from Germany. So you never know who you're going to meet, and you can use this like Skype as a meeting and marketing tool. The other thing is I do presentations in here all the time. Matter of fact, last week I taught a class to the University of Montana in Second Life. So 253 of the Fortune 500 companies use Second Life for meetings for employees, for meeting customers. Even Dell Computer, you can go to Dell's property in here 24 hours a day, talk to an avatar, and tomorrow morning your new computer will show up on your doorstep. Yeah, isn't that absolutely amazing? And for some reason, because they're avatars, you actually connect with them. How many people here right now has seen James Cameron movie Avatar? Okay, yeah, pretty much. Okay, yeah, by the way, I can see you. You can't see me. So, yeah, almost 100% of you. Yeah, that was a cool movie. But now let me ask you a question. After about 10 minutes, didn't you really kind of get into the Avatar critters? I mean, you kind of suspended belief. And let me ask this question, and you don't have to raise your hands and embarrass yourself, but when the tree got blown up and fell down, you got upset, didn't you? Of course you did. Well, wait a minute. That was a cartoon. You got emotionally attached to a cartoon. Admit it. Well, that's the thing about Second Life. Even though these are cartoon representations, because the mouth moves, the eyes blink, the body weight shifts, the legs cross, you get emotionally connected with that other person, much more so than I do from Skype. It's an amazing tool, and it's 100% free. Remember, everything I talk about is free. And now gaming, in-game advertising. Well, that might not be for you or for everybody, but it is appropriate for a lot of companies. If you look on the right, you'll see McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Axe deodorant. The center picture has HP. Here's the reason. Inline or in-game advertising is very inexpensive because most people don't know anything about it. And if you say the largest online game is World of Warcraft, if you look at the top left, 17 million participants. 17 million like-minded, trust-based participants. So when you've got tens of thousands of people driving past that HP billboard and your computer's not running fast enough to run your game the way you want, and you want to buy a new computer, guess what? HP wins. It's just that simple. Halo 3, the second most played game, 16,500,000. Now, let me ask you, and you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. What is the average age of an online gamer? Average age of an online gamer. You in the front. You, yeah. Audrey. No. Okay, Antonio? Blake? Okay, here it comes. 42 years old. 42. So that means that everybody from 9 to 90 is participating in these games. You got 16 million, 17 million people. 42 years old. Is your demographic in that 42, in that 9 to 90? Well, of course it is. And considering that it's so inexpensive, that's why all of these big brands are in there. I'm not saying it's right for you, but I'm saying be aware and at least consider the fact that people are benefiting from participating in in-game advertising. Now, I mentioned I was going to talk about blogging. Blogging, honestly, is nothing more than a web log. That's where the word came from, web log. And it just means that you have the opportunity to put in some ideas, some thoughts, a half a page, and hit publish or save. And what it does is it creates this online presence of why you do what you do. So if I type in an industry keyword for your industry, because I'm a prospect looking for a company to do business with, and you have a lot of blogs out there, Google's going to pick you up for those keywords, and I'm going to read it, and you're going to, in my mind, become an industry expert, a thought leader for your industry. So guess what? If you are and your competition isn't, when it comes time for me to buy, I buy from you. Now, here's a practical example. Marriott, little hotel chain that you might have heard about. Bill Marriott, who is the son of the founder, he's in his 70s, and he blogs every single week. And I love the wisdom of this guy, which is why Marriott is as successful as it is. Bill Marriott says he loves blogging because it provides a platform for two-way communication with his customers. Now, here it comes. Get ready for this. The customers can then tell us what we're doing right so we can keep doing it and what we're doing wrong so we can stop. Pause for effect. Are you kidding me? Your customers will tell you what you're doing right so you can keep doing it and what you're doing wrong so you can stop. OMG. That, by the way, is oh my God. Or oh my gosh, if you're an atheist. Wow, that's amazing. That's such great insights. That's exactly what we're talking about, is listening to your customers so that they can tell you how to better sell them. And he gets 600,000 visitors every 30 days. Could you imagine? Now, here's the punchline to this slide. Bill is in his 70s. Bill, the CEO of Marriott, has never turned a computer on in his life, but he blogs every week. He takes a little digital recorder, he records his thoughts, he gives it to his administrative assistant, and she transcribes it into his blog. Now, if I was a consultant and you hired me to drive traffic to your website, and I told you how to get 600,000 visitors to your website, or even 60,000, or even 6,000, what would you pay me? What would the value be? Write the check, send it to Lon Safko, post office box, because I just told you how to do that. And then there's something called Google Juice and Link Love. Google Juice is the more web pages that you have with your industry keywords that are indexed in Google, the higher you're going to show up on the search engines. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. Link Love means other people who respect what you have to say will link to your blog. Of all the things that search engines use in their algorithm, the top three things, one of them is called external reputable links. That's links from outside websites into yours, Link Love, and that also provides it. Which means that if you have a blog on your website, you, just by definition, are going to be driven to the top of the search engines for your keywords. Does that have any value? Well, of course it does. Now, if you look at the date in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, 2007, that's when I first wanted to test blogs. That's when I first was doing the chapter on blogs and trying to learn, because I heard that blogs had preferential treatment, and I knew that that was impossible because search engines don't give anything preferential treatments. That's why on the search engines I can compete with Microsoft and Apple and General Motors and anybody else. The better the web page, the higher I'm going to show up on the search engines. It's not a matter of money. It's a matter of creating your page well. So in December of 2007, I wrote this blog about Quizno and Subway. Subway sued Quizno for defamation of sandwich because Quizno had a contest for their customers. Tell us why you think Quizno is better than Subway. Create a 30-second video. Why, and if we like it and pick it, we'll give you $10,000, make it a national commercial. And a couple of people did some really derogatory commercials, and instead of uploading them to Quizno, they put them on YouTube. Subway got really ticked off, sued Quizno, and it hit the front page of the New York Times. It was just a mess. Finally, Subway went out for consulting. They were told, dudes, chill out. This is social media. Subway officially apologized, dropped the lawsuit, gained market share. So even when things go totally wrong, it still works out. So what happened was when I published this blog about that story, at the time, actually right now, Quizno, if you type it in, there's about 600,000 pages indexed in Google that talk about Quizno, the sandwich shop. Subway has about 34 million. And the problem with that is you can't really separate it from underground trains. And if Subway knew about the Internet 20 years ago when they first found it, they probably wouldn't have picked the word Subway. And social media now has over 200 million pages. 200 million. Here's the thing that was interesting. If you create a web page, it takes 12 to 14 days for the search engines to index it. I know that because I taught SEO, SEM, search engine marketing, search engine optimization. And within 30 minutes, I got notice from Google that this page had been indexed. That was impossible. 30 minutes, my page on my website got indexed. Now, here's the other thing that was interesting. Lon Safko, I'm the only Lon Safko there is. Thank God if I was John Smith and I was trying to brand my name, I'd pretty well be screwed. But Lon Safko, only one. If you type in, quote, Lon Safko, close quote, right now my Google juice is about 141,000 web pages and blogs. Anybody would kill, any company would kill for that kind of Google juice. But don't type in my name. Quizno, Subway, and social media. Look at the number of pages, and it's not me. If you type in those keyword phrases that you see, just those 3 keywords, I came up, this is December 3rd, 2007. I came up number 1, number 2, and number 4 on Google for those 3 keyword phrases. Not Lon Safko. So just by creating that blog for those keywords, I came up number 1 on Google, number 2, and number 4. And when I tested it a couple of weeks ago, I came up number 1, number 2, and number 4 for those company names, not even Lon Safko. That's the power of the SEO implications of just blogging. And when you create your blog, it can look exactly like your website. It uses something called cascading style sheets, CSS. So you can make it look exactly like your website. Don't go to blogger.com or Typepad. Don't do that. And the reason is they want your Google juice and your link love so that they can sell more advertising. Go get WordPress. Have your technical person install it. And if you don't have a technical person, Bluehost, GoDaddy will actually do it for you for free. And it only takes about 10 minutes on the phone call their tech support line. And WordPress is free also. Because remember, I promised you everything I talk about is free. Now, Google Alerts, cyber surveillance, really critical. There are conversations taking place about you and your company, whether you know it or not, and whether you have given permission or not. People are talking about you. If you go to Google and Google Alerts, try that 3 times fast, you can set up alerts, quote, Lon Safko, close quote, quote, social media Bible, close quote, any keywords that you want. Anytime anybody uses those words in a web page or a blog anywhere on earth, Google will send you an active link to that web page so that you can comment on it, you can read it, you can see what it's about. If it's positive, you can reinforce it. If it's negative, you can diffuse it. I get 15 of these, 20 of these a day. Most of them are people who have done reviews on my book. I'm the first person over there, and I comment, thank you very much for taking the time to review my book. It's an 800-page book. I appreciate what you've done. I know how much work it was. Signed, Lon Safko, author of the Social Media Bible, and the owner of the blog freaks out. The comments are so positive. It generates a lot of interest, and it generates exposure for my company and my brand. If you want to do that on Twitter, either download Seismic Desktop or TweetDeck, 100% free, and anytime someone sends out a tweet with your company, your name, your CEO's name, your employee's name, your product name, your SKU, anything you want to track, anytime a tweet goes out, you get a copy of it at the exact same time the recipient gets it. Is that amazing? And then there's Social Mention, top right, socialmention.com, where that actually monitors 80 different social networks, including LinkedIn, MySpace, Facebook, and does exactly the same thing. Email marketing. I'd like to be invited back sometime because I can do hours on email marketing. I love email. Email marketing is awesome because it's free, and with my emails, national average of opened emails from a company that really understands email marketing is between 15 and 17%. If you do a direct mail piece, the best you could hope for is between 0.5% and 1% open rate. Oh my gosh, that's awful. Geez, 0.5%? And email national average is 15 to 17. My average is 34%. And I'm sending an email blast right now to almost 10,000 people, and I know that 34% of those people are going to open up and at least come over to my webpage or somehow convert, whatever my conversion strategy is. If you understand the stuff on the left-hand side of the screen, you can get a 34% conversion rate. I mean, is that amazing? 34%, and it's 100% free. Mobile marketing. I would love to spend another hour just on mobile. Mobile is the fastest growing segment of marketing on earth. And the United States is about 3 years behind the rest of the world. The reason is because of our affluence. How many people here, show of hands, how many people here have desktops? Okay, almost 100%. How many people here have laptops? Again, 100%. Broadband, okay. Smartphones. Okay, almost 100% if you guys looked around and saw the show of hands. You know what? If you were in Africa, would the same hands go up? If you were in even Italy, same hands? If you were in South America, same hands? No. They can't afford laptops, desktops, broadband, smartphones, but they all have smartphones because they can access the Internet, they can send text messages, they can get their email. That's why everything is done in mobile. In Europe, 80% of all financial transactions are taking place using mobile phones. That means everything from buying gas, buying a pack of gum, and paying your rent. We are way behind the curve. It's going to explode. The first thing you need to do is make sure that your website is compatible with a smartphone. Get an iPhone or an Android or a Crackberry. Look at your website. If you can't read it, you got to fix it. The things on the right are called QR barcodes, quick response barcodes. Right now, if you take your smartphone and you point it at that top little crazy-looking square, your smartphone will automatically open up my web page. You don't have to type in anything. It'll know it's a web page, and it'll open up my web page. If you point it at the second square, your phone will automatically dial my office. Is that cool? Put it in your email signature. Put it on your business card. Put it on your product sheets. Put it even on your website. This is the first time that we're able to take printed media and instantly connect it with electronic media, with digital media. So QR barcodes. Just Google QR barcodes, and you'll see QR barcode generators. Type in your company URL, hit the generate image. There it is. Right-click it. And it does it for free. You're getting this pattern here of free, right? Now, this is another 1-hour presentation. Again, I'll be happy to come back and do this one. This is the most important thing. And I'm going to provide these slides for you. If you look at the bottom left side, www.extremedigitalmarketing.com. I'm going to provide the slides there for you. Just give me about an hour. Because you can use these slides actually to use as a worksheet and follow through. These are the most important things that you need to understand. Analyze your existing strategy. What are you currently doing? What's working? What's not working? Understand the trinity of social media. The trinity, blogging, microblogging, and social networks. That's all you need to get to do right now. Integrate that strategy into your existing traditional marketing. Just completely integrate it. Put it on your business cards, in your email signature, on your brochure, on your letterhead. Identify the resources that you need within your own organization. Who is fanatic about Facebook? Well, guess what? They're going to run your Facebook page. Who really loves text messaging? Guess what? They're going to be doing your tweets. Who's a really good writer? Or you. That's who's going to blog. And when you look at step 1 and find out what's not working, such as direct mail, you now have not only human resources, but huge financial resources that you now can use in step 4. And then, of course, the last step is to implement some way to measure, because you can't manage what you don't measure. So it's really critical. And the nice thing is, everything you do in social media goes through a computer, so there's a way of tracking everything that you do. So you know what's working and what's not. And if it's working, keep doing it. If it's not working, either fix it or just stop doing it and put your resources someplace else. If you want more information about me, lonsafko.com. If you want to know about the book, The Social Media Bible, and if you want these slides and a whole bunch of other free stuff, then go to Extreme Digital Marketing, and I'll send you a password where you can download free stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, truly, thank you so much for coming out here today and spending this time. And I'm going to turn it back over to Sukin for question and answer. And we're going to spend about the next 15 minutes answering any question that you've ever had about social media.
Thank you, Lon, so much. We have a few questions in the queue, so I'll take those and then we'll look for some more. One question is, talking about the Marriott blog and having such engaged sort of viewers and visitors, at almost a little bit over 500,000 a month. How much of that do you sort of accredit to the social media and the Google juice, or how much of that do you credit just for the fact that it's the Marriott brand?
Well, the numbers are directly proportional to the brand awareness. There's no doubt about it, Marriott. So if you're a small one-person company and a dry cleaner in Northern Nevada, okay, you may not get 600 million people, but what if you got 600 people engaging in your brand? And 600,000 compared to 600 is significantly different, but 600 is not bad. I mean, if people will come to your blog, read your blog, comment on your blog, it will give you ideas for new blogs. It'll start this thread, this conversation. But in marketing, what we call it is brand engagement. How else can you get your customers not to just see an ad? I mean, we think that that's marketing. We're not just seeing an ad. We're getting our customers and prospects engaging in our company's brand. And that has a tremendous amount of value. And the more you blog, once you reach a critical mass, once people start to become aware of it, that number grows faster, faster, and faster. And isn't that what marketing is all about? Brand awareness and brand engagement.
Thank you, absolutely. And so a couple questions that just came in. What do you think about the current coupon craze? The Groupons and the Living Socials, and how do you feel like that fits into a small business strategy or a social media strategy?
I really like Groupon and Foursquare and some of the other companies that are out there that are what's called geo-targeted. My company is international. Extreme Digital Marketing, I sell educational products all over the world. So something like Groupon or Yelp or Foursquare isn't as applicable because my demographic is worldwide. But if you're a local company, if you're a dentist, if you're a dry cleaner, if you're a restaurant, then those are critical because those are based on geographic locations. So take Groupon, for example. Once I signed up at a Groupon, about once a day I'll get all of the latest coupons, and I'll glance at it before I hit delete. And you know what? Every once in a while, there's a restaurant that I might want to try, or there's a free meal, or there's a significant discount. And it's going to get me to try that local business, which, otherwise I probably never would have heard of. And, considering the cost, almost every bit of this is 100% free. Why not is what I got to say. How else can you advertise your company geographically, locally, as effectively as you can with those tools, especially for the price?
I'm going to try and roll a couple of questions up into multi-part questions here. So,
sure.
One is recommendations for sort of a sole proprietor and how they can get started on social media. Two, how often should someone update their Facebook and Twitter? And then three is how do you get people to follow you on Twitter and gain Facebook fans?
Excellent. Let me do the first one was a sole proprietor. How do you actually perform social media? Where do you find the time? Hold the other two questions. Those are great questions, but I guarantee I'll forget by the time I'm done answering the first one. Okay, the first one. Pretty much I'm a sole proprietor. I mean, I run 3 companies right now. real live companies, 2 LLCs and a C Corp out of California. And I'm a sole proprietor. I have 2 partners in my C Corp in California. But I do it all. And how do I do it? Well, part of it is allotting time and building a system. The first thing I do is I check all my emails in the morning, and I go through and I read the ones that are important, and I respond to those, and I'll get to the ones that aren't important later, and if I can delete some, that's fine. Okay, well, that's going to take me anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depending upon how many responses. And then, okay, maybe I'll screw around a little bit with Facebook, and maybe I don't have time for it today. So, it's just kind of creating a system. On the old Ed Sullivan show for us older folk, there was a guy that always would come out and he would have all these sticks and he'd put plates on them and spin the plates. That's kind of what it's like. When you see one of the plates wobbling, run over and spin it. Just work a little on Facebook. Today, send out a couple of tweets. Tomorrow, focus mostly on your email. And, by the end of the week, you haven't really put in that much time. It hasn't disrupted your business, but yet you've been effective. And remember, it's more important to work on your business than it is in your business. Get away from the counter. You got people doing that. Work on your business. It's your job to build the business, not to run it. And the second question was?
How do you get folks to follow you on Twitter and on Facebook? How do you get fans?
Well, and that's actually going to be the subject of my new book. And yes, this is a shameless promotion for my new book called Fuse, which I'm about ready to sign the contracts today. And that's about total integration. I'm calling it tradigital media. Traditional media, digital media, social media, when you squeeze them all together, it becomes tradigital media. And the reason I say that is that so many people are thinking of social media and social tools as something completely separate from all of their traditional media. No, they're just new tools that have to go into the mix with your traditional. And if you can start thinking of it that way, that they're just new tools that have to become part of your overall strategy, now you'll start thinking about how do you integrate those two. So, for example, you heard me say several times during the presentation, make sure that you have an automated email signature that has all of your social networks in there. Make it easy for someone to find you. Make sure that your business card has a QR barcode so the person doesn't even have to type in your number. They just point their phone and it automatically dials. Make sure that you're on your product brochure, you have your Facebook address. Make sure that when you send out an email that all your social networks are in there. Make sure that when you tweet, you're linking people back to your website. Make sure that your website has access and like buttons for your Facebook page. Total integration. If you understand that concept, one will feed the other, which will feed the other, which will feed the other, and you get this exponential growth in your marketing when you completely integrate traditional and digital media.
And then the other question was, how often should you post on Facebook or on Twitter?
And that question can actually be extended to how often should you send email blasts. And it all gets back to, you heard me say the importance of the what's in it for me, the WIIFM, and the I didn't know that. How often you should post, email, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, is going to depend on the quality of your content. Content still is king. The better the content, the more often. Now, if I sent you, buy this is on sale, and I sent you one of those emails 3 times a day, how fast would you hit the unsubscribe button and probably the spam button as well? Well, you would. But because I'm sending out really good content on Twitter, things that you never thought of, because this is what I do for a living, is think about social media and how to apply it to marketing small businesses. I can send that out 3 times a day, every single day, and you're going to be looking forward to the next one coming in. So do you see? It's based on content. The better the content, the more frequent you can post.
And on sort of that same note, as you're looking at your content, and the question is sort of, should tweets be completely different from posts on Facebook, or should they complement each other?
Well, yeah, there's a whole bunch of schools of thought out there. When you send out your tweet, you can actually click a button in Hootsuite and have the exact tweet be posted on your wall in Facebook and also be posted in LinkedIn. And some people kind of get a little tweaky about that. I'm okay with it because personally what I found is if you're into Twitter, you're probably not a Facebook fanatic. If you're really into Facebook, you're using that to communicate with your friends and maybe not so much Twitter. If you're heavily involved in email, and that's your, so everybody's kind of got their own likes and dislikes. They get fanatic about one technology. So while I may get an occasional complaint that I've seen your tweet, your LinkedIn, and your Facebook are identical, okay. But I think for the majority of people, it's okay to cross-pollinate. But the other thing that's also important is that the scheduled tweets come across that way. So every once in a while, you do have to put in something a little bit personal. Like today, I sent out a tweet, hey, I'm presenting for Nevada State Bank. How cool. Well, you need to send out personal ones in addition.
Okay. I know you've talked about Hootsuite a couple of times and some of the other sort of scheduling programs, and there's a couple of articles that were just recently published saying that posts, especially from Hootsuite to maybe your Facebook page, aren't as shared as often as ones that are actually just done by someone sitting in the computer and sort of manually typing it into Facebook. Have you heard any of that research, or have you seen any of that?
Well, yeah, and absolutely. And that's kind of what I was referring to a minute ago, is that when you schedule them, they kind of come across a little robotic. Even though they're in my words, they're in my language, and they really wouldn't have been much different than if I actually just sent them out. But for some reason, psychologically, people kind of get a sense that they're mechanical, and they don't like it, and the retweet rate is a little bit lower. But I got to be honest with you, I don't have time in my business to sit and remember and to log in 127 times onto Twitter to send out fresh tweets. So as I said earlier, one of the things that you do is you do some of these robotic tweets, understanding that maybe the retweet rate isn't going to be quite as high, but then you kind of pepper it. You season it with fresh, live stuff that people know is actually live and it's not pre-scheduled. So, yeah, you may pay a little bit of a price, but that's really in exchange for saving a tremendous amount of effort.
I'll take a couple more here. For someone that is creating a marketing company, what are some good resources that you can recommend if offering social media as sort of product to clients? What are some resources that they could potentially resell or that they should have in their toolbox as they're going out to talk to new clients?
Absolutely. And, again, this is going to sound like a shameless self-promotion because it's exactly what it is. There's actually several marketing companies around the country that buy my book and put it on their desk. And what it does is it gives the marketing company credibility. I mean, it's only a $30 book, and it's a great way to build a relationship. But when they see that it's 800 pages, they're like, thank God I don't have to do this. I'm going to bring in the experts. And that is a shameless self-promotion. But really, the most important thing to bring in is a working knowledge, not just to Facebook and Twitter. And I can't believe how many marketing companies, that's all they focus on because that's all they ever hear about, and they're easy. If not, sneak into Barnes & Noble and at least flip through the table of contents, and that'll give you, or download these slides, and that'll give you an idea that social media is really bigger than just Facebook and Twitter. And the most important thing is, if you're walking into a client, the most important thing, and I'm repeating it on purpose, is strategy. The rest are tools. I mean, it's like building a house without a blueprint. You walk in with all the carpenter tools and all the 2x4s, and you just start banging away on building a house before the client tells you what kind of house you want. That's how foolish that is. So sitting down with the client and really thoroughly understanding what they're trying to accomplish, that's the first thing. And then pick each one of these tools and develop a strategy for each one of these, which includes a conversion strategy. Once I'm successful at Facebook, what am I going to do with these people? Once I start sending tweets, what am I going to drive them to? When I'm sending out an email, what is the purpose? What do I expect them to do? And that's continuously missing in all marketing companies, and it's the most important thing.
All right, we'll take one more question, and we'll wrap up here. But in your view, in your mind, how do you differentiate or how do you position yourself in social media if you have a business that you're selling sort of a product versus a business that's selling a service? How do you, what potential strategies could you use for those two different segments?
Honestly, my companies do that. I mean, my speaking company sells a service. I do keynotes and webinars like you see here, and I travel around the country, and that's 100% service. And my Extreme Digital Marketing sells 100% products. There's no services offered on there. And you know what? I don't really see a huge difference because the first and most important thing is building trust with your prospect if you want to convert them to a customer. period. That's the first thing, and that's what social media does best. And all marketing is designed to do that, is to start building the relationship between the prospect and the company, whether it's service or product. So that's critical. And social media is awesome on building that level of trust. Because one of the things that you got to understand is there's something called a buying funnel, which means that not everybody's ready to buy your product right now. That's a harsh reality. And that's why traditional marketing is so ineffective. You broadcast your information, and only a small percentage of people are even thinking about your product. So the trick is, and the quick example is, at night during commercial television, primetime television, how many times do you see fast food like McDonald's, or how many times do you see that darn pickup truck commercial? Oh my gosh, give me a break with the pickup truck. I'm not getting up at 8:30 at night, running down and buying a pickup truck. It doesn't happen that way. But you know what? It might be a month, it might be 9 months later when I'm getting ready, I think, wow, I need a new car. I think I'll buy a pickup truck. I think I'll go down to the one that I saw on TV last night. And that's how it works. So it's about building that relationship so that when your customers are ready to buy your product or your service, that there's a level of trust. They come to you first, and they never think about the competition.
Right. Lon, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to just talk about blogs and social media and everything today, but we want to just put this out there for everyone. This webinar will be on demand at nevadasmallbusiness.com within the next 48 hours. Of course, you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/NevadaSmallBusiness, and you can find us on Twitter at NVSmallBusiness. And our next webinar is on October 6th with Patrick Snow. He's the Affluent Entrepreneur, 20 Proven Principles for Achieving Prosperity. Again, we'll be back here October 6th at 9 a.m. Patrick's going to talk to you about developing the character traits of successful entrepreneurs, growing your small business on a limited budget, prospect your way to sales, and using free samples to develop more business. You can go ahead and register today at nsbank.com/webevent. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you so much, Lon, for being our guest speaker, and we'll see everyone October 6th.
Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude our meeting for today. Thank you for your participation. You may now disconnect.